Okay, so in the last one, we actually ran a charge and we did that here. But we want to actually grab the Stripe ID that we've probably already created for this user. And we did that with this logged in, create the Stripe ID. So basically it's going to either get it or create it. So if we look at this, make sure it's in our admin. We want to make sure that user Stripe's there, and it is. And we go back into our admin. And we're going to look at user Stripes. And this main user, this is the customer ID. Now, of course, back into Stripe, we'll see that that customer ID has been created, but at the same time, it's different than the charge that we just recently did for $200. So if we're looking back into our customers, we have a few different customers in here, and this first one was this most recent charge showing up there. I'm actually going to delete all my test data at this point because I want to have a clean slate type of thing. So go into data and you're going to delete all test data, delete it. And this will delete all of our plans as well. So we're going to actually have to redo those. But the reason I'm doing this is so then I can come into Stripe. I can also delete the Stripe ID for that. That way we have everything clean and it's going to be ready for us to work with. Stripe might take a minute and that's okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look back into our models and we notice that this Stripe ID is here. So every time they log in, it's going to check whether or not they have one. And if they don't have one, then it's going to actually create a new Stripe ID for that specific user, which is very useful. So since we're going to get that ID and it's going to grab the customer ID, the actual Stripe ID itself, we can use that in our subscribe. So what we're going to want to do then is instead of all of this stuff, we are going to just add that card to the user that has already been created. So we have to actually get that user. So let's go ahead and open up Stripe. Test data was deleted. Okay, so we'll come back to that. I'm going to open up the documentation and go into the full API reference. So this is the URL right there. And if we have customers, we look back and creating a new customer. So you're already doing most of that with the exception of the card. So we have to update the customer with a new card. So we can do it with create new card just like this. So we're going to use customer and retrieve that customer ID, which we stored this part on our server. And then we're going to create that new card using the credit card form that we already set up in our template. So let's actually copy this. And we are going to make a new function here. So def get or create Stripe user, and it's going to take in the user. Okay, so first and foremost, we want to get the user's Stripe ID using this. So we had the one-to-one field, so user Stripe is how we'll get it. And we'll get Stripe ID equals to user Stripe. Of course, we want to lower those things, lowercase that because it's going to be a foreign key connection there. So we go there, and then we're going to grab the Stripe ID, so dot Stripe ID. Now we're going to try to get that because if it's there, then it will show up. Except if it's not there, Stripe ID will equal to false. Okay. So then we would return, or we want to do if Stripe ID. Then we want to retrieve that customer, and we're going to use Stripe ID here. So we're going to retrieve that customer, and then what we want to do is return customer inside of Stripe ID. Okay, so that's going to return it. So if Stripe ID is not there, I'm actually going to move this back down here, or well, I'm just going to put that right there. So if that doesn't actually get us anything, we want to take this out of quotes. So if this actually doesn't return a customer, so if Stripe ID is false, else, then we're going to create that new customer ID. We could create it, but when they log in, it's already created. So if it's false, we're just going to hit pass for now. Because this shouldn't ever come up as false, because as soon as they're logging in, as we do here, it's creating that new ID. If it doesn't create it, that's a bigger problem that we're having probably with our signals, not so much of this new view. So all we really need to do is call this get Stripe user or Stripe customer. Let's actually call it that, get Stripe customer. So this is going to return our customer instance that's from Stripe. So we can use this now. So we can go copy that and say customer equals to get customer.user. So request.user this time. And now that we have that, we can add a card. So let's go ahead and remove this part. We can add a card from that Stripe token. So we're going to grab that, paste this here. So now we grab the customer, right? We're retrieving the ID. And then in here, we're creating a new card. And then we're creating a new membership. And then we're saving that, or adding a new membership, really. We're not actually creating a new membership. We're creating a new subscription for the customer. So then we save that, and everything should actually fit and match. Now we have one exception that we have to remember to do, is we have to go into our dashboard and we have to recreate everything in there, not necessarily the customer, but definitely we need to recreate our plans. So create our plan, and we did one MO for 1 month, and I'll do $29.99. Don't remember what we did last time. That's not the relevant part. So 1 month, and then we'll do another one, and we'll do 1 year, and $199.99, and we charge every month, or excuse me, every year. And then we did 6 months, and we do 6 months, 6 MO, and 6 months, and let's say $75.99 or $74.99, and we will do every 6 months. Okay, so we create the plan, and there we go. So now we have our 6 months, 1 year all over again. And if we look at the IDs again, going back into our template, just to double check, make sure that we've got our IDs correct. Otherwise, we might run into some issues with actually adding the customer. So we have value of 1 month is 1 MO, 6 months is 6 MO, and 1 year, so on and so forth. And that's exactly what we did. Okay, cool. So now that we have that, we got to check our customers. We don't have a customer for this particular user because they never actually logged in since we made all these changes. So let's go ahead and do that now. So we will save everything, and then I'm going to log out and log right back in. And notice it's taking a little bit longer. It took a little bit longer only because it had to create that new Stripe account. So if we refresh in here, in our dashboard, we now have that new customer ID coming through and actually showing up. But it doesn't have any charges or even a credit card on there because we haven't charged one. So if we go now in here, we go to subscribe, and now we have subscribe. We'll do for 12 months, and it sets it for us 42.42. Again, that's a test card, and we want to do that 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and then some correct information. Submit, and it's running through the payment. It looks like it went successfully. So if we refresh our dashboard here, we have a credit card charge, and we also have their most recent payment and a subscription that they are active in. So perfect. Now we actually have all that stuff. We have a subscription, and it's kind of ready to go. There's not a whole lot more we actually need to do as far as the payment side of things, because it's already been set for them and all that. Of course, we could do something here, like maybe send a message that they were successfully charged or something like that. Or we could set errors if there are any errors. And that is something that we definitely could do here, but I will leave that for another time. So we will see you in the next one.